Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Here in Taiwan, our $1 coins are made of 92% copper, 6% nickel, and 2% aluminum. Very tough material, and I like the way that it colorizes when it oxidizes. So I hope to melt these to make, you guys know my favorite Buddha statue. Each one of them would probably be about 2 pounds of copper. And what's really nice is that when copper and nickel are alloyed, the melting point is actually lowered a little bit, so it's a little bit easier to melt than pure copper. The only thing I have reservations about is that aluminum tends to rust when it's heated to such a high temperature, because this is going to be about 1,000 degrees Celsius. You're going to need some kind of inert atmosphere on top of the metal. But even if the aluminum goes away and you still have copper and nickel, I think that would still hold up a lot better than pure copper. And I can't wait to see how that's going to turn out. But I have a couple other alloys in mind. Copper and zinc also make some interesting alloys, especially if the percentage of zinc is high. 35% zinc, 65% copper, I think makes a yellow brass. The only problem is that the yellow brass has a relatively low melting point, 700 or so degrees Celsius, but I'm not sure what temperature you need to heat both the copper and the zinc to get them to mix, right? So I'm hoping that if you heat it to above the melting point of zinc, but somewhat below that at copper, and you leave it there, like maybe heat it to 800, 900 degrees Celsius, it will diffuse eventually. Because if you heat it above the melting point of copper, at that temperature, zinc boils. So I'm not too sure about that. The other alloy I might try is called Zamic. It's an alloy of zinc and aluminum. And that one's a little bit easier because at the melting point of aluminum, zinc still doesn't boil. Um, I haven't really found a good source of aluminum though. I usually use aluminum cans, but like I said, a lot of the aluminum rusts. I mean, it makes for the amount of aluminum you get unreliable, which means that any alloy is very tricky to do. I'm thinking of maybe starting by melting the aluminum cans and making some ingots of aluminum first. That way I can measure them a lot better. Right? That's been the trickiness of melting aluminum for me, is that you never know how much you're going to get. Right? And if you're just pouring aluminum, it's not a big deal, but if you're alloying it with other stuff, then it becomes a problem. Now, I might also try an alloy of copper and silver. So copper and silver form a eutectic at about 72% silver, 28% copper. Actually, 72% silver has been used in coins throughout history because of how easy it is to melt. Mexico made a few, even Taiwan made a 72% silver coin in the 1920s, and they use it for commemoratives quite a bit too. Uh, but what I'm thinking of doing is 40% Kennedy half dollars usually go for a discount relative to the spot price, and so do the 80% Canadian silver dollars and other coins. And I'm thinking of mixing the two, putting it into the furnace and heating it up above the temperature where both of them melt, and then lowering the temperature to the just above the eutectic melting point, and then pouring stuff out of it. I think that will make for an easy pour as well. All right, please pray that all of these art projects I have in mind go, especially this one. I can't wait to have a Buddha made of this stuff. I'm the most optimistic about that 72% silver copper eutectic. The other ones have edges to work on. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.